All right, we're good.
Hello and welcome to the Weird Science Marvel Comics Patreon only spotlight. And we're gonna do one book tonight. We're gonna do occasionally do two books. We're gonna do one. It's the big book. Everybody usually this happens with the spotlight poll or whatever. That it's like, yep, we're gonna take the big book away.
Yeah.
And really, this is something that me and you haven't really been looking forward to that much since it was announced. I mean,
people have.
It would be more in your line of deal because you have been reading Thor and you've been reading Jason Aaron's Thor. I have. I've read, I haven't read all of it. I've read some, and obviously I've read everything in Fresh Start. But even before that, I caught up a bit. And, everybody who would listen to the podcast would know I'm not a big Thor speak guy. I'm not a big Thor guy. And this is not saying that Jason Aaron isn't a great writer, that Thor isn't a great character. It's just, some people don't like characters that other people do and vice versa. And Thor to me has always been a pretty bland character. You always get that Thor speak that drives me nuts, which we don't, we have gotten up until now. We did like that last issue though, leading into this, and it seemed to dial that back. And I will tell you that going into this, not as much Thor speak as I was afraid of.
Not as much Thor, really.
No, not as much Thor as, yeah, you're right. And so when we get into this, I do think that I'm going to be more positive than you. We've already kind of discussed scores, but who knows how they change as we go. But it's one of those things that I think that the reason why you didn't like it as much is the reason why I was relieved a bit and kind of liked it, because it let me ease in while you wanted more story and not just fights. But go, you give the credits because everybody loves to hear you talk Thor.
Yes. Written by Jason Aaron, drawn by Russell Dauterman. We got colored by Matthew Wilson and lettered by VC's Joe Sabino. So previously, for some time now, the Dark Elf King, Mikaelith, and his powerful allies have been laying wait to the 10 realms. Hey, I'm giving the people.
You're just going. I know. Yeah. I'm telling you. I told Eric today, and then I started not being able to say it right. And then he was making fun of me because he was asking Leo, what is this about? And I'm just, it's Malekith. And Eric, this is the exact conversation. So what's this War of the Realms about? Well, Malekith. All right, I'm out. And then how does Brandon say it? Mikaelith. And he's like, really, Mikaelith? And then we started laughing.
It's probably some twisted way some Michaela girl used to spell her name. I taught her.
Yeah, exactly.
But here we are. 9 have already fallen, including Asgard itself, ruined in a battle that saw Thor's hammer Mjolnir lost in the sun and the Rainbow Bridge shattered. Most of the Asgardians have relocated to a brownstone in the Bronx. Now Thor has only a fragment of Mjolnir, an army full of substitute hammers, and no way to reach Mikaelith, who has his own bridge to ferry his army between the realms, the Black Bifrost. Thor needn't worry about finding Mikaelith, however, for the War of the Realms is about to come.
Yes, and with this, you do get the whole forces here in your little bubbles there, which I love, and I love this.
It helps out too because they don't do a great job of introducing everybody in this book.
No, and I will tell you right now, for the most part, I think that you can go into this if you've at least read Thor during Fresh Start. Yeah. I do think, yes, you're going to have to catch up. You're going to have to kind of fill some blanks in, but you just have to know everything's gone to hell.
Yeah.
And
I think the one thing working in your benefit is if you're just coming in for the event is like, you don't have to really concern yourself with the other 9 realms. We're only really dealing with this one.
That's what I like. I actually like that. And you have the heavy hitters being, right off the bat, you have Odin, and it spells it out pretty well. There we are, Asgard. You have the broken, bridge. The Rainbow Bridge is shattered. You see it shattered there. You go in, you see that he's missing his eye. He's got his crazy eye patch, and you go. So, I thought, and especially if you read last issue of Thor, he's a sad sack. He's just sitting there, and he's in the crumbling, deal. He's
all alone.
Now, all alone in the crumbling ruins of Asgard. And that's when things go wrong. And you do see the elves show up, and they pretty much, yeah, they pretty much just stab him. And I'm telling you right now, this art I really, really like. And
Yeah.
I can't think of anybody saying like, oh man, this this issue looked like crap. It does not.
No, I
It
definitely
looks,
like it at the beginning more than
yeah,
towards the end, though. I lose a few transitions towards the end of the book
I'll
with
go
some
with that.
fighting, but
But I
yeah,
mean,
it
yeah,
definitely starts really strong.
even as this, even the perspective as you see Odin attacking and assassins, how dare you, dark elves, defy the halls, and he's blasting one back, which is in our foreground, and how it's blurred out to be able to see them in the distance. It's great. It really is good. Like you said, especially here. There's too many of them. They just end up stabbing him. And the king of
Caesar,
Swarthelheim bids you the goodest of nights, Odin One Eye, and he's like, may your dreams be filled with screams, and then that's where we go off to Midgard.
it sounds like one of Eric's death quotes.
Yeah, it does. It sounds like that's a hashtag for when Stephen King dies, maybe. But yeah, you go off then to Midgard, and we get what we have liked in the deal. You get Thor. You get Thor here.
Boat, yeah.
Yep, they're on their boat, and then all of a sudden, boom, you have Loki show up. And again, all right, we're going here. This is cool. And, Thor has some jokes. Now, this is the problem that I have. One of my main problems with this, and I don't know if everybody's going to think the same way. Thor is good humor. I like Thor's humor, the whole just like, Thor chomp on that and Thor go, that's fine.
Your dog,
the issue really, because Jason Aaron, as every character gets introduced and whatever, he's going to go full out and he's got to make Spider-Man just, I know that Spider-Man's lighthearted. I know he's a jokester, but this is end of world stuff. And yeah, I know that people would argue with me, but it gets a little too much. Then you have Tony show up and now he's joking. I know these are the characters, but there are times when I think that you have to make the characters be a little more serious so that I can take it a little more serious.
I actually think he does a better job of introducing some of the Avenger characters in this issue who almost everybody already knows than he does some of the more, obscure characters and villains that are popping up here.
Yeah, I thought that it got a little too jokey because at the beginning, Thor's story, but at the beginning here, you're really doing some dark stuff. And even at this point when Loki shows up, I actually thought
like drops from the sky, basically.
Yeah, just drops down. Now, of course, we find out it's not Loki. But in the meantime, I actually thought it was Loki.
Yeah, I did too.
And I thought he was dead.
I didn't even pick up on the change until very late in the not in the issue, but in the scenes where it actually happened. I didn't even immediately recognize, oh, that was Loki, and nope, it's not actually Loki. It's the name I can't speak. The name I will not say.
And in that, Thor realizes too late. Even Thor was going to tell him, and he's like, "That not Master," because this is where there's Loki comes down. Thor and him are going back and forth, and he's like, this is going to end. And it's funny because this is like one of those where we do laugh about where you have an event, you have even an issue or whatever, and we're on page 10, and Thor is ready to like take me to Malekith. We're ending this now. And you can't think that this is going to happen, right? You're like, oh man, like it's over. It'd be so funny. It's like it's a punked. Yeah, Jason Aaron's like, yep.
You thought you were going to have to spend $400 on tie-ins.
Yeah, he's like, and by the way, it'd be funny. It's like this crazy Willy Wonka thing. And the person who did pre-order the most of these, but he gets to write Thor now, him or her. Jason Aaron's leaving it, in a dark world, a shining hope comes through. Next thing you know, Double Aaron is writing Thor, but yeah, he goes off, and that
immediately the main character.
This isn't gonna. Really, it's it's Thor Vereen now. But yeah, with this, that where he's going, it's not gonna quite. End the way that
work out in his favor at this point of issue 1.
But he does go, and pretty much Thor realizes a little too late that it wasn't Loki, it was Malekith, and they're there with the frost giants. And I'm telling you, to be bad, but Thor is bad, but Thor, that's one thing that I do like about the character of Thor is you'll never see him like, oh no, I really messed up here.
Yeah.
Now I better run.
Shouldn't have done that.
No, he's just like, all right, here we go.
we go.
Let's go and line up. And as you go back to him, I did kind of smile when he's there and he's just fighting just every frost giant.
Yeah.
He's like,
I want to tell you, I think this is my favorite part of the issue. And then again, when it continues.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Stuff going on in New York.
And that's my problem. Almost. Like I said, at this point now, we're close to halfway through the issue. And boy, it feels, and again, it does still feel big later because but it's big by the amount of characters.
Yeah.
This here feels big and it feels like epic storytelling. It feels like this is important. I have to take notice. Yeah, Stan's soapbox pops in. I want to kill somebody. And I said to you, I'm like, I'm reading this.
No, you're done with Stan's
I am really, really getting into this issue. Yeah, no, the soapbox needs to be at the end of the issue. And, it's an end credits scene. If you want to stay for the soapbox, you can. I'm sitting here, I'm 3 pages in, really loving it. Stan said, really? I don't need this. But yeah, I'm telling you, to me at this point, when we get, Thor and Malekith ends up, saying, oh, it's me, the front. I'm telling you, I am close to being a 10 out of 10 at that point because everything is big.
That's why I really like it.
Yeah, everything is going. Now, again, you do then, you go to Midgard, you go to Earth, and you're going to have to. And I know, like I said, this is going to be one of those things that it totally depends. Yeah, it depends on if you mind the tone and if you mind the characters being correct in their tone, but going a little too much. I do think they are a little too much, especially Spider-Man. And I think that Jason Aaron just wants to show that he can write a snarky Spider-Man while this is going on.
It's very weird to me that at this point, with what Spider-Man's dealing with in his own book, I know not every book is totally interconnected,
I know.
But it's weird he's so featured in this when he's dealing with something on his own. They should have, I don't know, put Miles here maybe.
Or even both. I mean, I do like the amount of characters and I do like the scope. You do have the Asgardians. They've been staying in that apartment. You have Spider-Man there and he does get his Spidey sense, which looks cool. It looks like he's high on LSD. And again, though, there's a cool, almost like a cell shading type of perspective there when there's the fight on the rooftop and Spidey's going down there. I think that's cool. Spidey goes down and helps Freya, which is cool. You know what I mean? But it keeps going with this, I'm going to be the spider trickster. I didn't know there was LARPing. That's fine. But it gets to a point where things are going a little more epic and
they want you to feel the suspense at this point in time, especially when they flash to the next 4 characters they kind of want to feature that don't really pop up too much going forward, but they're going to be in various tie-ins or whatnot. But you lose the idea that something serious is going on.
I mean, here's the deal, like I said, it's fine. You have Hildegard come out and like, oh, I don't need this spider, he's gonna lay eggs, and Lady Sif's like, don't worry, he's a jerk, but he's not going to lay eggs. Oh, man, keep my eggs to myself. That's fine. But then it's like, oh, no, this is the day we've long dreaded has come at last, my friends. One of us is getting a colonostomy. No. First off, you like you said, first off, you have Aunt May, who pretty much we think has cancer in the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. But it's a little too much. Like I'm saying, it's what the character is. And I know, again, Eric yells at me all the time. I was even telling him this. I'm like, it just was a little bit too much. He dialed it up a little too much for me. But then you go and see that Doctor Strange is going to be involved, Daredevil, Wolverine, Punisher, and all these. And yeah, that's epic. And I like it. I think it's cool. Boy, I know Frank has been hitting the weights. He is.
I think he's on the Brock Lesnar diet.
Humongous. I mean, he is humongous. I actually, and I love the Logan there, where he's just drinking that.
Yeah, beer, I do too. Yeah.
So all of a sudden, I mean, and this is where I have to go with the idea that not a ton of story progression happens from here on out, but it is balls to the wall action. I'll give them that. Like, if we thought that it was going to take a while for the forces to hit Midgard, we were wrong, because they hit, and they hit hard, and they are there. And again, it's a full page spread, looks great. And it is just bringing down buildings. You have all of these enemies coming in. And I actually sat there and I imagined, like, boy, if this was like an Avengers movie, boy, it would look so epic with that. But like you said, you're not getting a ton of the characters at this point, because now you're just going to get, okay, we're going to fight. Here they come. And as characters enter the fray, they'll yell their catchphrases. They'll yell some things.
Little bits of who they are, maybe.
And again, you always seem like Jason Aaron always has to. Yeah. And then there's Captain Marvel and Iron Man show up. And, you have to have Tony like, hey, ladies, let's go. We can go over to my place for birdseed and bubbly. And then Carol gets mad. It's the same interactions that you get in the Avengers. But again, and they're like, oh, man, we're going to take you and we're going to put you in the pen for breeding. He's like, see, I told you it worked, Carol. Look at me. And they're going on. And again, this is at a point where New York City is about to be
falling to shreds.
About to be destroyed. These are not your typical just enemies coming in. I mean, there are frost giants clubbing buildings and just destroying them and coming through this portal. And I think that they need to start coordinating a little better than this.
They got orcs falling in love with She-Hulk. That was one of the scenes I enjoyed in New York.
I didn't mind that. And then you have Thori again, Thori's there, and you have the whole like, hey, did you get the Avengers? Yeah, I got the Avengers. Those are the Avengers. And you do see them there. Yeah, Blade there with a weird line when he's like, I'm Blade.
I know.
All right.
He's George Costanza talking.
Yeah, I'm like, that's great. Yeah, that's great there, Blade. Go for it. But yeah, even at the point, there was the weird deal where Freya's like, Captain of America. And then a page later, it's just like, hey, Captain America. And I was like, it's a little deal. But yeah, you're getting the forces together. You're getting the people who may not be familiar or read the Avengers to know what the Avengers team is, also with the Asgardians as well. I actually like that, Cap there with the shield comes flying back and he grabs it. It's pretty cool. He ends up.
There's a couple points in this book where, I'm reading digitally. And this is one of the reasons I personally prefer reading the actual book. I thought I was looking at a splash page and I go to turn the page.
Yeah, that does happen sometimes.
Me when I'm
and what actually did kind of surprise me as well is as Thor's off in Jotunheim, I guess is where he was, right? I'm telling you, I have problems with the names, but I was actually surprised that while he's fighting the frost giants, that Malekith is actually there in New York leading the charge. For some reason, I thought he was going to. Yeah, I thought he was going to send in all the guys, let them take care of stuff. Yeah, it did. So I thought that was pretty big, that he's just there and he's on that giant, like Siberian flying tiger, which is pretty bad, but. And you even have the guy who always reminds me of the Batman who laughs now. But you have all these guys and they're going there and they're announcing themselves and things like that. They're the Lords of Midgard. They're going to take over. Malekith gets hit right in the face with the shield, which doesn't do anything, but it's pretty bad. But like you said, and then of course you get the Avengers assemble, for Midgard, and then there's Spidey. New York's for lovers.
I know. I didn't understand that scene.
That's Virginia.
That word bubble.
Tell him. You live down there. You know that's Virginia. New York's for bums and Reggie and Pete from MIC. And maybe some food trucks, but not for lovers. But again, a little too much. It doesn't ruin it for me. I don't want people to think it ruins it for me. It's just he's got to just dial it back. And it seems like with all the characters, I swear to God, he has his eyes set on writing Spider-Man at some point. He's like really like, this seems like, listen, look at me. I know how to make the jokes. And it's just a little too much for me. But yeah, they're going there and they're fighting. And that's when Freya gets picked up by Lofi. This
is one of the scenes that threw me off.
He's obviously the king of the frost giants. He's yelling about, your Loki's husband's a loser. Yeah, he's Loki's dad. Your husband's a loser. You guys are done. This is going to be great. I'm just going to end up and and I'll tell you, Freya, she's a bad butt, and she's like, you know what? I'm going to kill you. Why don't you stay dead? Like you have the stupidity to keep not being dead. And he's like, hey, that's big talk for a tiny worm. All of a sudden, and I agree with you, the way this is, I actually wish that this whole scene would have been more of a spread page so you can kind of soak it a little more in, but his hand gets cut off. And it's from Loki. Loki shows up again, looks great. I think he looks, that's like in my mind, that's sort of, but even the look, that is the emo late teen Loki,
Yeah.
who hates his dad and is going to tell his dad he's bull crap, right? Because he's just like, and they
Listens
go,
to My Chemical Romance.
yeah, yeah, there it is. It's Gerard Way. Yeah, he's sexy. But I love this idea of like it's the back and forth shade. Like, man, you know, you're an alpha father. Oh, you were the worst thing that ever came from my loins. Yep, yeah, you're a mistake yourself. And they just keep going back and back.
That could continue all day if you let it.
Yeah, it could. And so Loki's there, and you know, he gets attacked. And this is the big part. One of the bigger parts in this book is the idea that Loki's father picks him up, he has him, and he eats him. And, you know, but the thing is, even me, just movie wise and things like that, we've seen Loki die so many times. So it didn't really hit hard.
Well, it doesn't, like, the characters react to it too, but not necessarily. I don't know. There's no like moment of reflection.
Well, you know,
like,
you know what,
Loki's
you know what else
gone,
I thought? That the thing that I thought as you go with the dialogue, it seemed very impersonal for these guys who know Loki. Loki is not, he's not anything. Even at one point, Ghost Rider seems to not remember Loki was big in that first deal.
Yeah,
of
Ghost Rider's first
Avengers.
response is, "Oh, that's disgusting. I'm going to throw up."
Yeah,
like,
and he's like, "Oh man, what
like,
was that?"
It's a joke.
Yeah, and he's like, "Wow, I know I'm new here, but that was super gross, right? I think I might throw up." I'm like, yeah, you're not really super, you know, you're not that new anymore.
In that moment,
you fought the, you know, Celestials and things like that with them. You're not, you ended up going to heck and all that stuff in the last deal with them. You were fighting vampires.
Yeah.
You know, it seemed a little off. And that's something that you can say about, you know, Jason Aaron, you know, maybe something in the Spider-Man book he doesn't know, but that's something that's in his own book. So it seemed a little off. And it seemed like, I'm telling you, like even Iron Man's reaction was very impersonal. You know, he's like, for real, that giant just ate his own son. Well, I know it's his son, and I know that Jason Aaron wants to make sure that if people didn't know, they would know, but
find out.
It's Loki. You know, you should have Iron Man. You would think he's like, oh man, Loki's dad ate him. Just use his name because he knows him. He knows him well. And
we just had a conversation 2 pages prior, clearly introducing one as the son and one as the father.
It just seemed a little off. And,
well, I'm not sure how the physics of all that work out quite in my brain, but here we are.
Yeah, and with that, if anybody gets the short end of the stick, maybe it's Doctor Strange. He kind of comes in, he's hovering, he does a little thing.
Too. He's literally in one panel.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The guys who end up, because it looks like even from the thing that Wolverine will join the frame more next time. But yeah, while this is all going on, and you have everybody yelling, and they're trying to regroup and things like that, you do have what I think might have confused some people too digitally, where you do have that swirl to separate the panels instead of having a full panel border where you have people fighting on Midgard, then you swirl and now you're, you know, back with Thor fighting the giants. And it kind of like, are they looking at that through a thing? But, you know, you go there and they're there. And again, it looks great. And when you get back to Thor, I'm like, yeah, I'm in. And he's like, you know, the God of Thunder will be the doom of you all. And he's just like, yeah, hey, Jotunheim, you jerks, all you knaves, come at me. You know, I don't care. All you frost-brained bastards, line up. Let's go. And I'm like, no, I'm in. And just, again, the art with the 2 hammers he has and he's swirling them and stuff looks fantastic. Really looks great. And it does look great throughout. Like you said, once you get a lot of characters, yeah, I can see that you're going to have to tone it back to get all the characters. And I think that what they're doing with the scope of the deal, because you need to show the frost giants being so big, you do pull the camera back and it's not as detailed as what it was. But I can't say anything bad about this art. It's great. And like I said at the beginning, the idea of, you know, you have, you know, Malekith there, he's fighting, they're on Midgard. It's like balls to the wall here going. I like the scope of all the characters in this issue. I thought that the humor went a little bit too much. But unlike you, who told me beforehand, I'm cautiously optimistic now that I enjoyed this enough. And I was not confused at any time, confused in the lore, confused in what was going on. Like all of a sudden, nobody showed up and said anything that I was like, really? Like, when did that happen? Or, man, that's above my head. Now, yeah, there might be little Easter eggs and things that I might not get, but I think that Jason Aaron wrote a good enough story that somebody that is more of a novice with this. I'm not John Jack. I haven't read, all the Thors that he had. He said like 700 issues, so that he may and should get more out of this. This is a Thor event. So yeah, that's something that when you have even, we're the Lords of Midgard. I mean, there's probably John Jack like, holy crap, that's that, and that. And I'm like, oh man, those guys look bad, but all right.
They look all right.
I'm like, that guy looks like Calabac. All right, let's go. And I anytime, because I'm so much in the DC stuff, I always like, he looks like him. He looks like him. But I liked it enough. I did like it. I liked the
one guy looks like Brimstone a little bit to me.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, really. But yeah, I liked it. I liked it more than I thought I would. I actually, if you would have held me down in a non-sexy way and said, what do you think you're going to think of this issue? I actually thought that I was going to go into this and think, okay, this isn't for me. I gave it a shot. I'm going to, bow out now. I'm going to head off to the, the sunset and let everybody else who wants to enjoy this, enjoy it. And I'll read my X-23 until it gets canceled. And we'll do the books that, aren't the deal. But I like this enough that I do want to continue with some of these. Now, I don't know if that means me and you and Aaron are going to, get every tie-in book, but I definitely want to do the main books. I definitely do. And if we're liking one of the books, that's the problem is once I get into one of the tie-ins, then I'm going to want to do them all. And that's craziness, but because there's a lot. And then even at the end, I'm like, oh, right. It says in 1 week, it's so weird. It's like in 1 week, Daredevil becomes the God without fear. In War of the Realms, War Scrolls. And then in 1 week, War of the Realms, Journey and Mystery #1. In 2 weeks, Thor 12. And then on sale now, The Prelude. Then I go over to this. Hey, here's Act 1, The World at War, the War of the Realms. And I'm like, wait a second. In this other page, there's no, War of the Realms 2, but yet you're telling me these are in a week. Like, well, when are these things coming out? And I need an order in a timeline here, not just give me a full out checklist. So that got me kind of annoyed a bit. But yeah, then I paged.
Well, I think we'll cover incidentally through like books that are main series.
That's what I'm saying. The ones that we're already reading and doing, we'll kind of tie in with that and then go with the main book and things like that going on, because you have Avengers coming up. We've talked all the Avengers, so we'll be doing that. Thor, Unbeatable Squirrel Girl, I don't think we're going to be reading that or reviewing it, but Venom we will, all that. And we'll decide if we want to do like the Punisher, War Scrolls, Uncanny X-Men, stuff like that, these War of the Realms titled tie-ins, the 1 of 3s and things, and then the Journey and the Mystery 1 of 5. We'll see. We'll see how it goes, but I wouldn't mind. I actually wouldn't mind, but I don't want to put all the regular books on hold while we cover all of these as well. So we'll have to figure it out. But what did you think?
Yeah, I'm going to give it a flat 7. I mean, I like the art for the majority of it. It gets a little different at various points, and I kind of like the Thor stuff a lot more as far as story and art goes. And I'm more interested in following Thor's threads himself than
that's what I want.
People slug it out, on Midgard, and I've seen enough of that in events to last me a lifetime. So I don't need 4 more issues of seeing the heroes get their butts kicked until they finally rebound and win the day.
And with that, with the characters that are there, it does seem like, okay, we're there with the Thor. Yeah, it's a Thor deal. And then when we go to Midgard, does kind of just turn into Avengers book. Now it's a better fight, Avengers type fight that we have really in the other book. And you do have a lot of guys going, the guys and girls all focused on a little bit better. But yeah, that's not kind of my deal either, but I did like it. I'm giving it an 8. I'm going to go up to an 8. I'm going to be positive for this first one. And hopefully, I can maintain my, enjoyment, at least for the main book.
Separating Thor is, I don't know. It's just kind of a weird move. I get like, he's going to come back and be the tide turner to help him win the day. But it makes you kind of maybe choose which thread you like a little more than the other one. The thread I'm interested in is following all the Thor books and stuff is the Thor stuff, and not necessarily all these.
What's a weird deal right away to kind of send him off, and then not only just send him off for Malekith to say, okay, Frost Giants, you take care. I'm heading to Midgard with everybody else. We're going to fight.
We're just going to trust 7 random Frost Giants like Thor's never.
And right now Odin's bleeding out with his one eye.
Yeah.
And so
I think he'll be fine too. I have a hunch.
Yeah, I do too. I know that a lot of people, the big talk was, after this, will Thor be worthy again? Will he end up getting Mjolnir? Will he have that? Now, again, you would expect that would be like some huge moment that you'd see it come flying in. And then, of course, then it'll be somebody else will be worthy. Thor will have it in his mouth. And
10 out of 10.
Yeah. So really, I'm going to go 8 out of 10. But yeah, that is the spotlight. Thanks everybody for picking it. And me, you, and Aaron will be getting together tomorrow for the regular shop. Yes. We haven't really even talked about what books we're going to talk about and things like that. A bunch came out.
I've only read that Spider-Man Gibbon issue so far.
Oh yeah, how's that? You want to spoil it?
If you know literally nothing about the Gibbon, it's an entire recap of the Gibbon.
Well, then history. I will be in. Oh, so yes. You go. Because I don't know much of the Gibbon.
Yeah, I didn't really either. It wasn't. I think I enjoyed it more than any of the.
Well, now I know what the HU issues are supposed to be about.
It moves the story forward 1.5 centimeters. I think.
Well, then that's good, and that's nice. And then this weekend, me and you will have the weekend edition, obviously, and then this coming up month, like I put in the Patreon, me and Brandon are going to start possibly, the Kree Skrull War is the first event that we're going to cover, and we're going to go in a timeline type deal. So it's not going to be like we're going to do that and then jump to Secret Wars or whatever. I did find a timeline. Event timeline. I'll run that by you. Brandon will look at it and we'll go from that. But we'll do that. And then me and you, possibly me and Reggie, whoever it will be, we're going to do the back issues this month. And then starting next month, we will have a vote for that. So this coming up month, if me and you do it, it's going to be She-Hulk's first appearance. If me and Reggie do it, it's going to be Doctor Strange's first appearance. So we'll see, because we've been trying to do that.
And I did the new and improved sales and
people liked it. People liked that deal. It's in and out, and you're ready to go in and out without the burger. What it was. I love those burgers. I've only had them a couple times when I was in Arizona.
I was in California one time.
Yeah. We were in Arizona, and there was one at Tanya's aunt's near Phoenix. And it was good. I did like it, though.
I like the burgers a lot more than the fries. The fries are just a...
Yeah. I'm telling you, we have 5 guys, and basically all those guys, all 5 of them, basically work to give me diarrhea. That's what their main job is. And I'm telling you, it doesn't take 5. They have a couple guys go on break, 2 remain to give me diarrhea. But I love it. It doesn't.
We have this place up here I think you would love, but hate. Same type of way, and it's called Mighty Taco.
Nice.
It's kind of like a local Taco Bell type place.
Nice. I love those places. We had a place called the 39-cent hamburger stand at one point, and I don't know if these
out of Popeyes.
No, it was just called the 39-cent hamburger stand.
Like something that guy from Popeye.
Yeah, and Wimpy's. The thing about it, they actually had a triple chili cheeseburger, and I think it was 70 cents. And at one point, now this is when I was in high school, and I was playing hockey or whatever sport, but it was mainly hockey because this was up in Allentown where I used to have to drive to go play hockey. And after practice or a game, legitimately I would get 7 of these triple because they're only small. They would have been like almost like a triple cheeseburger, but it had chili cheese. So good. So I missed that place. It went out of business. They weren't charging enough, but also it kept changing hands and it got crappier and crappier.
Grade D meat.
That's what happened. We had a Sonic in town that the guy ended up getting arrested for selling like, non-sanctioned meat that might have been, animals that you shouldn't really eat, or at least not only that, but I think that it might have kangaroo. No, it wasn't that. I think it was that the meat was bad. Like he was buying it on the down low 3 days after it expired. Yeah. You just spice it up a little, is what you do.
A little taco seasoning solves all.
Yeah, it does. Also teriyaki sauce.
Yeah.
Do you ever have the soy vey teriyaki?
No.
Do you ever have that? It's it is a Jewish teriyaki sauce, and it is good. It's so good. Eric, I always saw it. It's a little pricey, but I ended up getting it, and I used it. Oh, it's so good. That will cover up any rotten meat you could ever have. I suggest it for all your rotten meat cooking needs.
If you ever burn a hamburger, sriracha is a good trick too.
Really?
Yeah.
You know what my trick is when I burn a hamburger? I just eat it.
Yeah.
Actually, at some point,
I mean, like a hockey puck. I mean,
yeah,
like you
yeah,
really
it's that
burn
bad.
it. Yeah.
That would be chili time for me. But yeah, that's it. We won't extend this anymore. But yeah, thanks everybody for listening. Thanks for picking War of the Realms. I hope that everybody enjoyed it. And yeah, well, talk to us in Slack what you thought of it and things like that. Because I actually didn't see that many people talking about what they thought about it. And I thought this would be
I was trying to like garner how my opinion would be judged. And I don't know. I'm not that far under what kind of really its average is.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll see. We'll go in there and see what's going on. But thanks, everybody. And we'll see you tomorrow.